Hi everyone, welcome back to JoanneTechLover. I'm Joanne and I'll be showing you how to overclock your CPU 6700K style using the Asus VIII Hero motherboard. Enjoy! Let's get started on the tutorial. First up, make sure you download AIDA64. I'm using its 30-day free trial. It's a great program for overclocking because it includes a voltage readout, temp checks, and a stress test. Next up, get into your BIOS. I have everything set to default right now. Go ahead and set your XMP profile if you have one to boost your memory speeds. Now go to the Asus multi-core enhancement setting and disable that feature because I'm manually overclocking. Go down to CPU core ratio and select sync all cores. Then put in your desired overclock. Type in 46, which is the CPU multiplier. 46 times 100 base clock gives you 4600 MHz or 4.6 GHz. Scroll down to external DigiPlus power control, then press enter. For the CPU load line calibration, I went with level 6 because it gave the best trade-off between overvolting and minimizing V-droop. Disable the VRM spread spectrum because it helps us overclock better by not having an extra filter on. Next, head into internal CPU power management and enable Intel SpeedStep technology. This will enable your CPU to downclock when not in use. Go down to CPU core cache current limit max, set that to 255 so that there's no power limit restrictions. Set the minimum CPU cache ratio to 8, which is 800 MHz, and maximum to 41, which is 4100 MHz. Usually, the CPU cache ratio does not go as high as the core clock. You'll want this below the core clock for best performance. Go to the CPU core cache voltage setting and set this to manual mode. Go down to the override setting and type in your desired voltage. I went with 1.31 volt at 4.6 GHz. Keep in mind that every CPU is different. Your CPU may not clock at 4.6 GHz and may only do 4.4 GHz at 1.31 volt, or you could be lucky and be able to run 4.8 GHz at 1.31 volt. Just as a safety precaution, I do not recommend going over 1.35 volt because you could damage your CPU. Below the previous setting is the CPU Vcc I/O voltage. This can affect high-speed memory overclock, so I like to give it a little bit more than the standard voltage, just so I don't run into issues. Applying 1.1 volt from the start worked perfectly for me. Try to keep this below 1.15 volt if possible. Again, with system agent voltage, this can affect high-speed memory overclock, so go with 1.1 volt, and be careful not to go over 1.15 volt. Finally, go over to the Tools section and save your overclocking profile with whatever name you wish to have. I used 4.6 GHz. Hit Exit, save changes, and reset. Upon doing this, you will see all the changes that have been made. Once the system has restarted, open up AIDA64, go to the Tools menu, and click on System Stability Test. Go back into Tools and open up CPU ID. Go to the System Stability Test screen and click Start at the bottom left corner. Just let it run and go get a slow-roasted ham and Swiss breakfast sandwich with hot caramel coffee. Now that the AIDA64 program has finished running a successful stress test, here are the results. Let me preface this by noting that the approximate ambient temperature in this room is 20 degrees C. The recorded maximum temperature is 70 degrees C, and the max overclock reported is 4.6 GHz at 1.31 volt with load line calibration at level 6. Now that the overclock seems stable, you can play your favorite games or run your favorite applications. However, keep in mind that if you crash while doing this, you may need to give your CPU a little bit more voltage and/or drop your CPU core ratio down a touch, for example from 46 to 45. That wraps up this tutorial on how to overclock your 6700K CPU on the Asus VIII Hero motherboard. I'm Joanne, and if you like what you saw and you want to see more like it, be sure to hit the like, comment, and subscribe buttons, as well as follow me on social media. JoanneTechLover Facebook, JoanneTechLover again on Twitter, and JoanneTechLover once more on Instagram. Also, be sure to check out my other YouTube channels, JTL Lifestyle and JTL Cuteness Overload. I guess all that's left to say is bye!